Welcome to Pain with a Purpose, the podcast where we dive deep into the stories of resilience, redemption, and purpose. I'm your host, Chris Woods, and each week we will sit down with guests who have faced challenges with substance abuse, mental health, and recovery. But we're not just dwelling on the past. Instead, we'll explore what keeps them driven towards a purposeful life. Join us as we navigate the journey from pain to a purpose. So with that, welcome back to Pain with a Purpose, Season 1, Episode 15. We got Ken Link from most recently, what is it, Delray?
Delray.
Yeah, where are you at? Boca Raton.
Port St. Lucie.
Port St. Lucie. At one time, Willow Grove.
Willow Grove, yeah, right? That's where I grew up.
Ken Link. Definitely appreciate you making the trip. It's not around the corner.
No, it's not.
So we will jump right into it. A lot of stuff to talk about. I think really like a little bit about like our history and how because I didn't know you from a can of paint.
No.
I think I followed you, it's been years now, right? Wait, first off, congrats on the 8 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
August 1st.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
It won't air, but at the time it was yesterday.
Yesterday. 8 years. It's crazy. It moves quick. Now.
One and done? First time trying to get into treatment or like trying to get in recovery?
No. So I tried to get sober in the Philadelphia area for a long time, and it just didn't stick. I would get 30 to 90 days, and then, I think my father and my mother were just like kind of at their wits' end. They didn't know what else to do for me, and my dad started researching other avenues to get me sober, and they found Florida. That Florida was a big thing back then. This was probably 2013, I think, when I initially went down there. And then they booked me a trip down there, but at that time the treatment center booked me a trip down there.
Different times,
yeah. And there was like no questions asked on a flight. Boom, and I was there was no real objection from me because I was kind of at the end of my rope,
Yeah.
So I went down there, and it was probably like a 3-month stint, and then came back home, relapsed instantly, went back to Florida, and that's kind of when it took a more of a hold of me.
So without getting like too much into your story of all that just yet, because we'll get into all that. I think you did a good amount of time you served for our country, right? So thank you for your service.
Of course.
And we'll get into that as well. I think what we really kind of want to, or at least what I want to talk about is like that personal brand, right?
Yeah.
I think like you can absolutely attest to like everybody that comes in contact with you knows exactly what you're about.
Yeah, I think so for the most part, for sure.
So we'll talk a little bit about that. But I guess like when I really started to like recognize your personal brand was, not 8 years ago, but at least 6.
Yeah.
Right. Something like that.
6 would be 2018. So that's kind of about right.
And you were doing a lot of stuff down there for the recovery community.
Yeah.
So like walk us through that. Like what did that look like?
So my original time in sobriety in that Port St. Lucie area, I went to a treatment center that's no longer around. I met a lot of good guys. They took me through, took me through the steps. This group of guys was just real tight. And it was, we went to a step study together, all that good stuff. And, when I relapsed after that, so I got 1.5 years off of that stint of sobriety. And then, when I relapsed, I knew exactly what to do. I relapsed, I went on a little run, and it wasn't a little run. It was absolutely horrific. But at the time, when it was time to get better, I knew exactly what I needed to do. I went right back to that group of people, that area. And these people, some of the people that I had built friendships with had started a treatment center. And I probably had no business working in treatment that early, but they started me off as a tech. And that's kind of how the story started, with helping people in treatment. And then also, just catapulting me into a different lane that I didn't know I was going to be traveling.
Yeah. Well, when you first got down, I guess so like maybe after that run, if you will, or even beforehand, like did you ever think you'd be full-time working in treatment?
No, so when I was in my, the period of sobriety before the 1.5 years, I worked as a tech at a treatment center down there. And I didn't I was just doing it for a job. I really wasn't in it to like change people's lives at that time, if that makes sense, you know? And, when I came back, I said, I'll never do it again.
Mhm.
Never do it again. I'm meant to like swing a hammer or something, but yeah, that wasn't the case. I got pulled right in.
Grateful that I don't swing a hammer.
Yeah.
But,
So am I.
But then there's also days where I'm like, you know what? Just give me the tool belt.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's true.
But that's a whole nother conversation. All right. So started working in treatment, right? But wasn't our recovery, right? And I think that's like a really big part to like talk about.
It
Because
wasn't,
like,
what are you saying? It wasn't recovery?
or I'm sure I'm saying like it's not our recovery.
No.
And I know from like a lot of the outsiders looking in, they might think, I know my mom does, right?
Yeah.
She thinks like, oh, you know, you're doing, you know, it must be like so good for your recovery. And it's like, some days it might be quite the opposite.
Yeah. It's actually pretty bad for my well-being sometimes.
Right. Because, you know, I mean, listen, we don't have to go over the horror stories and stuff like that, but like I still need to do what I need to do for my own personal recovery.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's I think when you get really, really wrapped up in it, you tend to give a lot of yourself. At least for me, I'm like an above and beyond person. So like I'll do things that I probably shouldn't be doing in the regard of like just doing too much, giving too much of myself. And that tends to stretch me thin, especially being that I'm a father now, you know, and it's a lot, you know, multiple children, and you know, to be given so much of myself and then be expected to give that, if not more, to my own family, which is how it should be. You know, it gets hard sometimes, you know, it gets hard. So I think that if you're not really taking care of your personal sobriety and stuff like that, your growth, you know, you can get really caught up in that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're jumping around like crazy, and that's fine.
I like it.
Touch on a little bit about like your time in the military. So what was it? Marines, Army?
Yeah, I was in the Marine Corps. So basically how it went for me was I was lost. Like when I was after high school, it was just a weird time for me. I was bad on pills. That was when OxyContin was a big thing. And it felt like an out. It felt like an out for me. I didn't join because there was this, you know, patriotic desire in my heart. It was just, I was running for myself is basically what it was. So, I walked into a recruiter's office. You know, I wasn't too feared up. And then I remember signing papers, and I initially went there to do Army. The Army recruiter wasn't there. Like the recruiting offices are weird. I mean, if anyone knows how they work, they just like come and go, I feel like, you know, and then sometimes there's an Army guy there, sometimes there's Air Force, sometimes there's a Marine, and there was just happened to be a Marine. And I thought to myself, you know, well, they got cool uniforms, you know, they're pretty badass, you know,
First in the fight.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I was always like a history buff. So I knew like every branch of the military, stuff like that. And I'd be lying if I said like in high school, I didn't always admire, you know, veterans and military personnel and stuff like that. But, I never had the balls to pull the trigger on something like that. And it definitely played into it that I was inebriated to some extent, you know, because I wouldn't have jumped off that ledge, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what about like after you had entered, right? And like you're there serving, or even when you were in basic training, whatever it's called. Like, did your drinking and drugging, like, did that change? Or
yeah, so I went into, it's a crazy story, man. Like I remember, so when you leave for boot camp, you know, you go to a hotel, and then they fly you out of whatever the local airport is, and they take you directly to the boot camp. So when I went to the hotel, it's like a bunch of military members that are joining at the same time as you, you know, they're getting flown out to whatever, you know, the Navy boot camp, Air Force, Marines, Army. So I remember everybody being like so excited down in the lobby, you know, they're having, you know, their dinner in the restaurant there. And I remember not being able to stop using until the day I left. So I'm like in my hotel room using, and it was just surreal to me. You know, I didn't think that I was going to be able to do it, because at that point, the fear started to set in. Like, can I do this? Am I even capable of doing this right now? Cause you know, it's really hard. You see yourself in stages in life, and like the person I am today was not the person I was then. So, and like I said, I was running. So I remember everyone being so excited, and I'm like, I wish I could be like that, but I can't right now. And I remember being up in my room and then leaving for boot camp and being sick there. And my only saving grace was they initially drug test you when you get there, but at the time,
that was my next question.
There was an influx of recruits. I went to Paris Island, and we had to wait in the top floor of this squad bay type thing, an old military barracks. So I stayed in the top floor of that, and it was just a couple of drill instructors, just messing with you the whole time. For 3 days we stayed up there. They just fed us these lunches and dinners, these box lunches and dinners, and we had to wait until another barracks opened up for our, I guess, recruit class to go in.
Yeah.
So my only saving grace was that we didn't enter the system really until 3 days in.
Okay.
So I had time to all I did was I crushed water and just hope for the best. I mean, the only saving grace was I wasn't smoking weed. So there was nothing in my system that wouldn't be out if I just crushed water.
Yeah.
I
mean, I can't imagine, dude. I mean, think about how emotional. I just remember when I'm a few hours removed from drinking and drugging, right? You're at Paris Island, and I'm looking at commercials, first couple hours of withdrawal, ready to cry.
And back then it was worse than the commercials, dude. It was they could put their hands on you back then and stuff. So it was surreal, and it was a lot to take in. But the thing I say a lot is I didn't have time to think about the pain of withdrawal. I didn't have time to how you're just laying on a couch, just feeling sorry for yourself. This is, I'm going to die. You're not going to die. It's just this. I didn't have time to think. I was it was go here, go there, go here. Yeah. So it was I just was trying to keep my composure through it all.
And then once basic training, came to a conclusion, and then you started serving. Same deal, or were you able to kind of?
No. So I stayed pretty good. There's a whole period of, training that you go through. So I went to School of Infantry, after boot camp, and then you get dropped to your unit. And then there's a series of just joining your unit and training with them and stuff before, you do whatever you're doing in your unit. But what did happen to me in the military is I got bad on alcohol. So I started drinking much, much more than I used to, because I knew I couldn't use drugs. So, and it was really not a problem to me to not use drugs, for a good period of time. And I'll kind of fast forward a little bit, because this is kind of where my story takes a little bit of a, it's more of a downswing turn, because I'll say that for me throughout life, it's always been, I needed a brotherhood of some sort. So that was huge for me. So in the beginning, it was sports throughout my childhood, and then it was the military, and that was my fix. So when all of it was coming to an end, for instance, when the sports came to an end, I got a sports injury. I mean, I'm jumping around. I'm sorry that I'm doing that, but I had a sports injury that kind of set me off into the pills initially. Then, it was time to get out of the military, and it was what do I do now? And it was everything was, just new to me, and not I wasn't equipped, it's not like I stopped using drugs, went straight to alcohol. It's not like I worked a program. I didn't talk to anyone. It wasn't I talked to therapists. I was on when I went into the military, I wasn't on any medications. I came out and I was on 10.
Yeah.
It's it was a lot happened. So, it was just a lot to deal with,
I mean, not to mention all the stuff that you're actually forget the drugs and the alcohol and the mental health, right? All the stuff that you actually had to deal with.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's everything gets put on. It's almost like everything gets put on hold. It's the same thing through addiction. It's whatever trauma you experience, you're stuffing it just to be able to get to that next day, you know? And then it's when you're done and when you're through it all, and then when you don't have alcohol or drugs to cope with anything, then it's you kind of have to confront some of that stuff.
Yeah.
So
you did all that, which was a lot, right? And again, thank you for your service.
Yeah, of course.
I have a ton of respect for you guys, because whether you did it because you were inebriated or whatever, you still did it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to downplay anything. It was just this jumping off point for me. That's why I said inebriated. I would never have done it on my own accord, but after it was done, I did it to the best of my ability, it was, I thrive in those types of environments. So, but when it was When it was over, yeah, it was over. And then I had to do this, this addiction thing all over again.
Yeah. So to segue into all that, right? I mean, as of today, right, you still have somewhat of that brotherhood. Some people call it a tribe.
Mhm.
I mean, let's touch on that, right? I mean, I know, like, I follow you along. I'm mad that you don't play slow pitch softball. You still play hardball. You know, that's coming to an end soon, whether you know it or not. But
baseball?
Like, yeah.
No. Never.
I wish I still could. I just don't have it. But yeah, I mean, dude, so like you still play competitive sports, right?
I do. I try and do a lot of things, and you know, I get made fun of by my significant other. Says I do too much, and what am I trying to prove, and all that good stuff. Probably just because she wants me at home, but yeah, I do baseball. We started a baseball team, sponsored and by the facility that I own, Tribe Intensive. It's called Tribe Baseball, and you know, it's a lot of kids that have gone through the program.
I didn't know that. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, we have a couple alumni that play on the team, guys that come through and they say, you know, because I remember when I first came around and the guys that I came up with were like, hey, we're going to the baseball field. We're going to play a pickup game. And it was like, really? You guys do that stuff?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I came from like, I didn't get, you got to remember, like when I was doing sobriety up in the Philadelphia area, like I would go to some events here and there, but like I didn't do recovery. Like I didn't get ingrained in anything.
Yeah.
So like I didn't stick around long enough to get brought into a circle. This was different. So when they said they were going to play baseball, like it lit a fire in me. And then it was like Wednesday, they're playing basketball at night. And, you know, it just turned into this whole thing where like now I had stuff to look forward to.
Yeah.
You know, it was really cool. So Tribe Baseball, that's been a thing for the last 5 years. It's been awesome, dude. It's been awesome.
Dude, I say it all. I say it a lot, and there's a lot of people that have like mixed emotions about it, or mixed opinions, if you will, on it. But like slow pitch softball, sober softball.
Yeah. Well, it's huge up here.
Yeah, it was United Recovery Softball League,
Yeah.
right? I might have been 6 months sober, if that. And I was at a meeting, and somebody was like, "Hey, we're gonna go shag some balls." That's literally how you. And I was like, "When's the last time I did that? High school?"
Yeah, dude.
I went over there, and then like I'm shagging balls, and like you know I'm out in the outfield with this guy, and he's like, "Yeah, I know." I'm thinking he's got maybe 90 days, right? Like, why are we out here shagging balls? Like, we're just bored. He's like, no, I got 4 years.
Yeah.
And like, we actually play for a team. And I'm like, dude, and like that kind of transformed my whole thought of like, maybe life isn't over.
Yeah.
You know, maybe I can still have fun. Maybe I can still do the things that I used to enjoy before I burnt my life to the ground.
Mm-hmm. I got involved with URSL a little bit while I was up here. And what I can say is like, when I remember thinking to myself, like, these guys are fucking cool, man. Like they're good dudes. Like they were really trying to help me. And it was just like, I wasn't ready, you know?
Yeah. I mean, if I was at that point where I was like still like in and out, right? Like who knows what would have happened, but that definitely like was a pivotal point when I was in a recovery house living on a top bunk. And I was like, on Sundays, I can go ball out with my boys that like, I really don't even know from a can of paint, but like our third baseman's 54 and flashing leather over there, but like still looking great. Right.
He looks great.
And I was 23 and, you know, but like at the end of the day, like I was happy. And like when I was out there, I was not worried about living in a recovery house on the top bunk.
Yeah. I don't know. It was like, and everybody's got a different story in like, I guess the program and recovery, but I just knew I was never going to be the guy like in the meeting, like kind of gatekeeping the meetings. Like I just knew I was never going to be that guy, like the guy that carried the leather bound big book and stuff. I knew I was never going to be that guy. So I needed to like find my place in what I was doing with this whole recovery thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, listen, and I was that guy for a good amount of time.
Which is fine. I'm not like down.
No, I know. But I mean, as I've stayed sober, right. And like my life has gotten more and more full. Like I really can't be that guy.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I want to, it would be the same thing as like, you know, your wife being like, you know, you're doing too much. And it would be like, no, I got 17 sponsees. It's like the people that can do that and are able to do that, more power to you.
Yes.
Dude. Like we need you. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not at that point in my life anymore. I just can't. Maybe I'll get there when my children get older. I don't know, but yeah, it's funny you bring that up because like I thought that was the only way for a long time.
Yeah, I mean the things that I've done in recovery it's pretty like to look back on it. It's kind of insane.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like some of the stuff that I've done, like I did a bike ride for my 5th year anniversary, like that. It was like a 54-mile bike ride.
I remember seeing that. Yeah,
from where I was homeless to the treatment center that I started. Like I rode the bike from there to there. and we did like a little video about it. It was like really cool. That was an experience. We did the MMA thing. I did the MMA fight.
I was going to say that. Yeah. You stepped in the cage.
Yeah. Put the proceeds, towards some good causes around the area. So it was awesome, man. I've been a part of some good stuff. And then the baseball thing is just a constant thing that's always going. And it just keeps those guys roped into something good. It's like something to keep them accountable, like, remember we got an alumni guy, he comes out, he's playing, and then it's like, he doesn't come to a game one week. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, bro, where you at? And that's like, yeah, that's big. And like, he knows that we're going to call him.
I mean, listen, it sounds a lot like a home group, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure there's going to be some people that listen, right? If anybody listens, like I say it all the time, if you're listening, cool. If not, that's okay too. But like, if they are listening, there might be some people that are like, that's not the same. And it's like, says who?
Yeah.
Says who?
Who writes the rule book on that?
Right. If it works for you, if it works for your guys, if it's working for that guy that will probably never miss another week unless he calls. You know what I mean? What's the difference?
Yeah.
So you did the MMA. Are you still going to do that again or what?
Yeah. I mean, I've grown pretty close to some of the guys that like trained me before, and they're just great guys, man. Like they train out of the like this little group, Treasure Coast Cartel in Port St. Lucie, and they're just great people. They're good guys, and they're doing good things. And it's like that group of guys like keeps people busy, keeps them, out of different environments they probably shouldn't be in, and it gives them something to look forward to and something to strive for. And a lot of them they're really good at what they do. And they, when I asked a couple of them to train me, they were all about it, because I know Tribe, we sponsor a few of them in their pro careers and amateur careers. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's been a really cool thing because they came out to like our open house, showed support. They're just good dudes, man. And
now, was it more Muay Thai or is it?
Well, it's everything. I mean, a lot of them train in everything now. Okay. So it's like a lot of them train in Muay Thai. They train in BJJ. They boxing. They do it all. Wrestling. And I got trained for my fight and just got close with a couple of them, and even more so now. Just a good group of dudes. And when I did my fight, it was just an experience of a lifetime, dude. Like, and these guys do it, every 3 months. It's pretty intense, dude. It was like, I contributed to this. Like, if you're outside of a corner store and something pops off, you don't have time to think about it. You just fight, you know? But if it's like something where you're thinking about it for 3 months, it's pretty nerve wracking, dude.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of those guys, especially probably the amateurs, right? Still have full-time jobs, right?
Dude, they have full-time jobs. They have families, dude. They're grinded, man. And I give them a lot of respect. Like, I made a post about it after it, and it was like, and I talked to a lot of them personally, and it's like, I got mad respect for those guys, dude.
Yeah.
Like, to do that, and like, they got their families and their jobs, and like, they're chasing a dream. And it's just like, I don't know, man. I guess we could all relate to that in some way.
Have you noticed any like crossover with them, and maybe not so like specifically with like drugs and alcohol, right? But like just like going through pain in their life, and like they have found like some sort of like new purpose with like
absolutely. Some of them have shared their experiences with me, that they used to struggle with addiction and now they don't, where it's given them that healthy outlet, just much like baseball or softball or anything else. They found their outlet, and it helps keep them off the street and in with their families and doing good things. So
yeah. So where do we go from here? We already covered a lot.
Yeah. So, I don't know what direction you want to go with it, but
it's my podcast. I can take you wherever I want.
Your podcast.
Yeah, dude, so let's touch on this, like 8 years, right? That was yesterday, right? Today, depending on what time you woke up.
Yeah.
There's some people that'll say that you got more time than the guy that woke up at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
But you weren't able to like string together more than a year and a half. Right. So what really changed? Was it really like kind of digging in, or was it like this white light moment, or is it a mixture of stuff?
I guess it was just that last relapse. Like when I got a year and a half, I knew that it was possible. And then, I met a girl who loved me like very deeply. And I'd never like, I don't know, man, like I've been in a lot of relationships, but I was like always a guy who used a lot, to where like I didn't want nobody around me. Like, I didn't want to be around women. I wasn't the guy that had a running partner. That wasn't me. I pushed everyone away. So like, coming into sobriety, meeting that girl, we kind of fell head over heels for each other. And then it was like going out and using with her was like kind of heartbreaking, you know?
Yeah.
And then we used together for a period of time and then took a period of separation when we both came back, but kind of did it the, you know, quintessential, what a treatment center would tell you to do.
Yeah.
But it was absolutely necessary for us because we used hard together. And if we came back together, it would have 100% been a horrible thing. So, you know, when we came back, it was, you know, that the hurt inside me when she was off doing her thing and I was doing my thing, like we were both trying to get our shit together. It was like, I felt leveled to the point where you couldn't even imagine, you know, like I had lost everything, you know, in that period of sobriety. I got my little apartment, got my little car, you know, just a hoopty and a nice little 2-bedroom, you know, nothing crazy, but it was like life to me. It was awesome to have my own place. And I lost it all, pushed it all out of my life. And, you know, when I came back, it just felt like I had this insurmountable mountain to climb. But what I did say to myself was like, I miss this girl. I really wanted her back, you know, as much as it hurts to say, like, I wasn't like, you know, I would have loved to say like Walker, you know, but it wasn't like that for me. It wasn't my story. So I wanted her back. I wanted my life back. And I wanted it better than I had it before. So I remember being at the halfway house I was staying at, and I had come back in the area. I got sober in Pennsylvania to, you know, just believe Carbondale. It was in like the mountains, and you know, I didn't know where to go from there. So came back to Florida. And I remember sitting outside my halfway house crying and really hating where I was at in life. And I remember calling one of the old heads down there that I was real close with. And he told me, you know, like if you become the man that you can become, or you were before, and even better, then you can have all of this stuff will come back to you. It'll come back to you tenfold. So I remember taking those words in, and not saying it was this profound statement in the moment, but they kept telling me, my sponsor, him, the men around me kept telling me, just keep your head down and push. Just push for now. Just get through today. And it's always been a today thing for me. It's like, if I can get to the next day, obviously it changes as time goes on. But in the beginning, those days were rough, dude. And I remember telling myself in my head, you know, you have to become a beast for this or it's not going to work. You know, you have to go all in or it's not going to work. That's what I did. I mean, I did the intense work. I put in the effort. I stopped communicating with my ex, you know, I stopped, you know, cause I'm a person that loves pain, dude. Like if I know she's going to be at a meeting with this dude, I'm going to go to that fucking meeting with that dude. You know,
up with the Travis Scott.
Yeah. I'm going to I want to see it all go down.
Yeah.
So regardless, I stopped doing that. I went to my own meetings. I went to my men's meetings. You know, I stayed in my lane, you know, and it was the best thing that I ever could have done for myself, because what it did was I proved to myself, because I was a super bad codependent after that relationship. So what it proved to myself was I could do this by myself, you know, and I felt comfortable doing it by myself. So it gave me this power inside of me where like, I honestly, I didn't think I could be, you know, I didn't think I could be pulled back into addiction. Honest to God, I felt real strong in myself. So, you know, lo and behold, you know, everything comes back just like the old head said it would.
Definitely tenfold.
Yeah. I mean, it's, the girl came back probably 3 months in. And
now this is the woman you're still with today, right?
Yeah.
So like the advice actually worked. Like what
the
a
advice
novel
worked.
idea, right?
I know. Crazy. Once you just stay out of your way, I guess is what they say, you know?
Yeah. Maybe those treatment centers do know what they're talking about.
Just a little bit.
Whatever. We digress. Yeah. So to keep it current, right?
Yeah.
We're currently in PA.
Yeah.
You're not from here anymore.
Not anymore.
You like own multiple locations. You own a business, right? Like talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I was working in treatment. I was working at a local facility in Port St. Lucie as the alumni director. I had built their alumni program from scratch, had a lot of success with it. That's where, go back to the personal brand thing. That's kind of where it all started for me. So I started building this personal brand, and it was just, you work with me, I'm going to do whatever I can for you. That's kind of what it was, really. I'll go above and beyond for you if you work with me.
Side note, I mean, if you could help Joe Mahan, You know what I mean? Shout out to him, a hand,
dude. I remember when Joe came in, and he's fucking doing good for himself.
He's killing it, dude.
Yeah.
But I think that's really like kind of like in a weird way, like sealed the deal of like me on you, right? Where it was like, because I know Joe, right, and he's not the Joe that he is today. I don't even know if we would even know what we would talk about today. But like seeing him transform while hanging around guys like you, it was like, dude, I know that they're actually doing this thing. You know, it's not all talk. It's not all just for social media. Like they're really about this recovery thing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's one of so many, you know, like there's been so many guys that came up from this area and like just got to work and did what they were supposed to do. And it's always cool to watch because it's like my story. It's like what I did, and it maybe some hiccups along the way, but I feel like everyone has them and they just do good. I mean, he did a great job. I mean, he's got his little son and everything now, and it's good stuff, man.
Not to cut you off. So you were talking about, all right, so you were at the alumni thing. You filled out the alumni thing.
I did the alumni thing and it was going great. But there was, you know, just some stuff that I wasn't aligning with that current treatment center. And I wanted to change. So I had started like these talks with this treatment center in Maryland about going and working for them. Thank God that it didn't work out because it would have been a nightmare. But my buddy Tommy at the time came to me and said, you know, I'm thinking about starting this treatment center, you know, in this area. Would you want to be a part of it? And I was like, I didn't like know what, you know, he was talking about. I needed more information. I'm like, let's talk. So we had the conversation. He had the conversation with like me and Kylene, my girl. And because she was apprehensive because at this time we had my son. So like my son was just born.
It's a lot of
fear. I was making okay money for a former drug addict, not really, you know, that just got back on his feet. At this point I had, you know, 2.5 years sober. And it was a scary time because I wanted to take that jump, but it was like starting it, there was going to be a period of like struggle, you know, and it was going to be a little bit tough. And I remember thinking in my head, like, I really want to do this. I really want to do this. I remember talking to Kai and, you know, she was like, I'm behind you, you know, like, let's do it. So, you know, me and Tommy kept that going. There was I wish I could like share everything that went wrong in the beginning, but it's just too much. And like, I can't share some of this stuff, but dude, people just hating and trying to like, we've gotten sued by people. We've gotten like, it was just madness, but regardless. So he asked me to do this. I get found out by my other job. They shit can me. And then, you know, we start Tribe like that, you know, and, I remember getting the building. I remember like it was yesterday, dude, my son as a baby running through the lobby, you know,
talk about like a gratitude moment,
dude. It's,
but at the same time, probably feared up. Like,
feared up like crazy. Empty building. Like it's on me to fill this place with people that need help.
Yeah.
And it's like, there was just a lot of pressure, dude, a lot of pressure. But like, again, those types of environments, I love, like, I just love that stuff, you know? So I remember like, when we first started, how difficult it was. And it just started to flow, man. Like it's me, him, and another guy, Bill Marshall. So we own Tribe and we started it in 2019. It was awesome. We had massive success in Florida. We did very well for ourselves. We prided ourselves on not like, having to attach ourselves to anyone. We worked with anyone that wanted to work with us, you know? And it was really good. And we created a good brand, you know? It was a very tight knit group. It's a very small facility, 20 bed PHP IOP. And, from there it grew. And in 2019, we decided to open one in New Jersey, Tommy's hometown, Marlton. So we did that. That came with a lot of hiccups, and you know, a lot of them, but, the state of New Jersey kind of, you know, they were just going through COVID up here. And, you know, whoever lives up here knows how COVID was up here, especially in New Jersey. It's like, you couldn't even get anyone on the phone. So it was just shitty timing. And, you know, we ended up getting our full licensure in August of 2023. And, it's been awesome, dude. We have an amazing staff there headed up by Mark Werner. He does a phenomenal job with it. The staff there, second to none. They did a knockout job picking the staff, Mark did, and it's just a beautiful thing. Fast forward to now, and there's things in the works of another facility in New Jersey. So, it's everything moved so fast for me once I made that decision, like, outside the recovery house, crying, once I made that decision that it was over, I'm going all in. It was like things started to happen for me. And that's when like my belief in God was solidified, was like, once I threw myself into it and into doing the right thing and not so much half measures, that's when doors started to open and started to fly open for me.
Yeah. I mean, literally, it's the same story as me, right? Like and I've said it multiple times, but I remember it was like a vivid moment in like my early sobriety, right? I'm not coming down. I'm going back up 95, right? Going back towards Bucks County in my 2000 Buick Century. It was, limo tent, subs in the back. You know what I mean? It was legit, but the front windows didn't go down. And like,
of course they didn't.
Well, because I had to put screws in like the actual, like I took the door panels off, put screws through because like the motors were shot. So if I didn't, they would just stay down or I'd have to tape them up.
Do you have a picture of this car?
No.
I wish you could flash it on the screen for everybody. That'd be great.
Yeah, I know. But like, so like from the outside looking in, right? Like, the kid means well, but struggling a little bit still. But like, I remember maybe having like $100 to my name, right? But having like this overwhelming feeling of like, it's going to be okay. Right. No AC in the car. I don't know if I said that. 95 degrees, like it was bad. But I was vibing, you know what I mean?
Of
Smoking
course.
Newports. I cracked the back window. I leaned back.
You had a car, dude. You were ahead of the game.
And it was mine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was huge for me. Because like up until this point, for anybody that, or, if you've listened to previous episodes, whatever, like I didn't know anything about being a productive member of society. Like making any type of payment for like towards like a car note. You know what I mean? And the crazy thing is I had a car note on that car. But it was mine. It was my piece of shit. Right.
That's great.
And like, dude, that's where I started. Right. So like, I definitely understand that. Like when I fully dove into, you said something, and the way that I interpreted it was like, when I fully embraced recovery and was like, I'm about recovery at this point, and not like half in, half out, or like not telling these people or not telling these people, but I'll be honest with these people, like everybody that knows me knows what I'm about. That's when like doors started opening. Right. And like things just started to work. Slowly but surely. Like I wanted everything like right away, but like it just all worked out.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I tell people at the treatment center all the time, like, you guys don't know how good you have it. Like in the halfway house, when you're 35 days sober, it's like, it's just free. You're just free. I mean, your life can be whatever you want it to be.
Yeah.
Legit, like in that pink cloud, I guess you could call it, is like a real thing. You just got to keep it rolling.
The pink cloud never has to go away. I feel like we don't talk about that enough.
Yeah. I mean, you can create,
life's really good today.
You can create a great life for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You can control who comes in and out of your life. You don't have to like force yourself into situations that you don't want to be in. It can be really nice. It can be really nice. You have the freedom of choice.
Yeah. Absolutely. With that, I'm going to do the whole YouTuber thing.
Yeah.
And then we're going to end it up. So if you like what we're saying, right? Like us on Instagram, Pain W Purpose, at Pain W Purpose, YouTube, Pain with a Purpose Podcast, and then on Apple and Spotify, we're on both platforms, Pain with a Purpose Podcast. Whatever. I hate doing that. But what I do like talking about is like what's the purpose now, right? Like we talked about a lot of it, right? Like over the last 8 years, probably over the last like 5.5, 6 years, that purpose has really started to like come into light. But what would you say the reason why you went through all this pain, right? Like what's the purpose today?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I'm a father. So I went through these struggles to be better for them. I think, every single struggle that I've been through has shaped me into the person that I am today. Everything that I've worked on in my internal self has made me a better person. And, I'm just trying to be a better person for my children, for my woman, and for the people around me. Everyone that I touch from it on a daily basis, I try and be a force of good, not negative. So I think that if I can kind of keep that in play and try and be the best version of myself for them, then it'll only branch out from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Are we just not going to talk about the flying Hawaiian shirt?
This is my claim to fame. Dude, personal brand. This is go back. Listen, if anyone's watching, if you want to check out some real social media swag, go to my page and look at every single date night photo for the past. I don't know, 4 years, dude. I'm in a Hawaiian shirt, man. It's just my vibe, dude.
She loves you.
She loves it.
Yeah, I just noticed it. I'm like, what's going on over here? He's got the hamburger meat hanging out.
And here's the thing. Before I left, she said, "You look fucking great." So there it is,
Yeah. I'm just busting balls, dude. I really do appreciate you coming out. Even though, did I reach out to you like before? Like, hey, I'd love to get you on. I mean, even
we talked about it. Like we talked about it briefly when I was up here last time, I think, for the Bobby Bonds thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about that, and you were busy, so we didn't really talk much about it.
Yeah, tribe baseball's a thing, but tribe softball was struggling that day.
We were struggling. We had a man down. We were
shout out Mark Werner, dude.
Listen, he's a champ, dude. The guy's a champ. But anyway, we're not so good in the softball range, but I challenge anyone to form their baseball team and come on down to Florida.
Okay.
We'll hook you guys up.
Okay. I got a lot of guys that just claim that they were, real good at baseball. And it's like,
but that's okay.
But we're all in recovery. I'm like, nah, dude, none of us were that good.
Yeah. Listen, I play for tribe baseball.
Yeah.
We're not all that good.
I think the whole thing about it, the whole tribe, like the logo, the movement behind it, the mission statement, like it's all really good stuff.
For sure. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you again. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. And we'll see you guys next week.